What if the Earth rotated 90 degrees? Let's imagine a world where the Earth's axis of rotation is shifted by 90 degrees, not just tilted a bit more or less, but turned completely on its side. Instead of spinning around a north-south axis, it now rotates along an east-west one. In this scenario, the poles would lie along the equator, and what used to be equatorial regions would now be at the poles. Sounds dramatic? That's because it is. This single change would transform our world in ways both fascinating and catastrophic. First, let's get the mechanics straight. We're not talking about a slight shift in axial tilt like the 23.5 degrees we currently have. This is a full 90-degree tilt, which means the Earth is now rolling like a rotisserie chicken. The sun would rise and set differently depending on your location, and the entire system of day and night, seasons and weather would be completely upended. In our current world, the Earth's rotation causes the sun to appear to rise in the east and set in the west, and its axial tilt gives us seasons. With a 90-degree rotation, the sun's path across the sky would look wildly different. In many regions, the sun would trace a long spiral path through the sky, staying up for months in some places and vanishing for months in others. Similar to what happens near our current poles, but now happening over what used to be equatorial regions. Cities like Quito, Singapore, or Nairobi would find themselves plunged into months-long nights and days, more like what you'd experience in modern-day Barrow, Alaska. Seasons would become extreme, not just in temperature, but in duration. Imagine 6 months of scorching daylight, followed by 6 months of freezing darkness. Agricultural calendars would be torn to shreds. Crops that depend on predictable cycles of light and dark wouldn't stand a chance in many areas, while others might adapt in strange ways. Plants could evolve to grow rapidly during the long summer and hibernate during the equally long winter, assuming the soil doesn't freeze solid in the dark season. But that's just the beginning. With this rotation, the redistribution of solar energy would drastically alter global climate patterns. Our current weather systems are driven by the way sunlight strikes the Earth more directly at the equator and less so at the poles. These gradients in heat drive the circulation of air and water around the globe. With a 90-degree rotation, those gradients would shift dramatically. Ocean currents would be the first to panic. Right now, warm equatorial waters flow toward the poles, where they cool and sink. But in this sideways Earth, the hottest regions would now circle the equator from pole to pole. The result? Possibly a chaotic reorganization of ocean gyres. The Gulf Stream, which currently keeps Western Europe mild, could collapse or reverse. The Atlantic and Pacific basins might become stagnant in places, or brew massive permanent storm systems in others. Hurricanes might form near what used to be the Arctic Ocean, now basking in equatorial sunlight, and sweep toward what used to be the tropics. Atmospheric circulation would go haywire too. Instead of the 3-cell system we currently have, Hadley, Ferrel, and polar cells, we might develop a new set of bands, possibly more symmetrical, around the new equator. The Coriolis effect, which helps determine wind direction, would now act along a different axis, reshaping trade winds, jet streams, and storm tracks. Jet streams might circle the planet like belts, dividing it into strange weather zones, while monsoons, if they existed at all, would likely appear in unexpected places. This shift would also affect magnetic fields. Earth's magnetic field is generated by the motion of molten iron in the outer core, And while it's not directly tied to the planet's rotation, a new rotational axis might still influence how the field behaves. It's possible we'd see more frequent magnetic reversals, or at least a significant realignment. This would play havoc with migratory animals like birds, whales, and turtles, many of which rely on geomagnetic cues to find their way. Confused geese might end up in the desert. Lost whales might beach themselves in droves. Now let's talk geography. In this rotated Earth, entire continents would experience climates they've never known. Antarctica, formerly trapped in a frozen tomb at the South Pole, could find itself on the new equator, becoming a steamy, forested land rich in biodiversity. Ice sheets would melt, flooding coastlines around the world. Greenland might become green again, but not in the way its Viking PR campaign once claimed. Meanwhile, equatorial regions like Brazil, the Congo Basin, or Indonesia would now be near the poles. These once lush jungles would become frozen wastelands, their ecosystems shattered. Animals would migrate or go extinct. Tropical birds, frogs, and insects wouldn't survive the dark, icy winters. Rainforests might